Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Canadian Car Review Show. So today I have a 2015 Dodge Journey RT, all-wheel drive that I'm going to be doing a test drive review on. The exterior I'm not going to really talk about too much because it's pretty much just the standard vehicle that everybody knows, and if you guys are really interested in an affordable SUV, I would highly recommend checking out the Dodge Journey. I've had it for a couple of days now as a rental vehicle, and to be honest, it actually performs fairly well for the cost of the actual vehicle. The fit and finish is pretty nice. It's kind of hard to tell because of the it's bright outside. It does come with soft touch materials on the inside of the interior. You do have leather wrapped seats in the RT model that's equipped with this vehicle. You got the store and go seats that give you storage under the seats. And you do have the basic Uconnect system. There's different variations of the Uconnect, and I'll go through it during the test drive. But anyways, for the money, this is actually a fairly decent sized SUV. It also seats 7 passengers, which is fantastic. Again, everything's wrapped in leather. You got soft touch materials on the doors. Comes with the 3.6 liter Pentasar V6 engine, along with a 6-speed automatic transmission. And what's awesome about it, and I've been driving it for a couple of days now, is the fuel economy. I was shocked based on the power and the size of the vehicle. I was actually getting some decent fuel economy numbers, around the 11 liters to 10 liters in the city, and about 9 on the highway, 9.6 liters. So it actually does perform very well. I'll start it here. I'm going to warm up the vehicle. Also comes with a center TFT basic gauge display, giving you all your information of your transmission temperature, coolant temperature, all that stuff. You can get all that information on there, vehicle speeds, and you pretty much control everything through the standard Dodge steering wheel. And again, because it's a Uconnect system, everything's touchscreen for your climate control systems, radio, presets, your phone connectivity, all pretty much what you find on a basic Chrysler vehicle. So pretty much the Dodge Journey is an entry-level SUV that can seat 7 passengers if it's equipped with the back row seating option. It has a lot of storage spaces underneath the passenger seats of the front, the rear cargo space, and it offers pretty much the basic amenities of an SUV. Now, because of its price range, you get a little bit different materials in the vehicle. It's not as premium as the Jeep Grand Cherokees. But it is still all soft touch materials, and it still consists of the Uconnect system. You also have your basic HVAC controls. It's actually a dual climate control system with rear climate control settings that the passengers can operate. You have full LED interior lighting in the car. Still comes with an Alpine sound system. This vehicle doesn't have the surround sound, but it's still relatively decent for the package itself. You get, like I said, soft touch materials in the trims, the door trims. You got soft touch materials in the top. You got leather trim in the middle, and then you have your hard plastics on the bottom. Overall, the functionality of all the controls is very easy to use. It's intuitive. You have your basic Uconnect system that operates your radio, your media devices, your HVAC controls, climate control, phone, and your settings. And you can go through all the menu settings as you could in any typical Uconnect system. Has voice recognition, parking front and rear assist. This model here, the RT all-wheel drive, does not have the backup camera, but you can opt for it. So it is available in the Journey. Just this packaged vehicle doesn't have it. You have heated steering wheel, heated seats for the front. It's leather-wrapped steering wheel. And overall, the functionality of the vehicle has been fairly good. I've been averaging around 11 liters per 100 kilometers city, and about 10 to 9.8 liters per 100 kilometers highway. And that's at a speed of, on the highway, doing about 110 kilometers an hour, 100, give or take. And again, city driving, it's just on and off with the pedal, doing roughly around 50 kilometers an hour. So in terms of the overall performance of the vehicle, it does live up to standards. It's actually fairly nice. A couple of key points to be really interested in is the way the transmission and the engine are mounted with each other and how it performs on highway. You really start seeing fuel efficiency really kicking in at low RPMs. And overall, it's got very good compliance in terms of the suspension. It's very soft, like not too soft where the car's sloppy and you don't have force feedback in the steering wheel, but it is a lot more forgiving. So when you are in the city and you hit a pothole, it really doesn't affect the overall experience of traveling in the vehicle too much. The complaints I have for the vehicle is not too many. You know, it's all personal preference. Myself, I like the premium leather interior if I can afford it. You know, I would opt for, you know, the higher end materials. But if you're in the market for an entry level vehicle, I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this car. It functions fantastic. I've had zero issues with it. And in terms of drive quality, I think it's a lot better than some of the older Chrysler products out there. So that's enough of my nagging about it. Let's talk about the test drive and the performance of the engine. Now, this vehicle is equipped with an all-wheel drive system. It's a standard all-wheel drive system that Chrysler uses in most of its platforms. And overall, I haven't had any really slippery road conditions. It's kind of like a dry winter right now. I haven't lost traction, and once you start accelerating a little bit more aggressively, the all-wheel drive system does kick in almost instantly. So you won't have a loss of traction at all when you're driving this vehicle. Now, if you're worried about performance, the V6 Pentastar engine, the 3.6 liter, is a hell of a lot more refined than the 3.5 liter of its predecessor V6 engine. Now, I've owned a 2007 Dodge Charger SE with the 3.5 liter, and that engine was very sluggish. It was, you know, not a very high revving engine. It didn't like to high rev at all, and in terms of performance, it wasn't very good. This engine is day and night difference. So if you did own Chrysler's 3.5 liter in the past, the high output, you'll be actually relatively impressed with the new 3.6 Pentastar. Now, the Pentastar has been in the market for a little bit while. It's used in the Grand Cherokee, which is a little bit of a heavier vehicle, and the Journey, the Pentastar engine being mounted to the Dodge Journey, has no issues of handling the weight and being able to give enough power in certain driving conditions or in emergency situations. So it's got plenty of power, and you'll notice it when I start to merge onto the highway, its acceleration abilities. Now, in terms of driving in city, like I said, it always tries to shift into the highest gear possible to bring down that RPM. And right now I'm doing about 50 kilometers an hour, and, you know, feathering the gas, I'm under 2,000 RPM, and, you know, it sits around between 15 to 1,800 RPM if you're, you know, generous with the accelerator pedal. Now, one thing I want to point out is that the vehicle doesn't come with an eco option in terms of engine performance. So if you are looking for a little bit more fuel economy, there's not much you can do to turn off the all-wheel drive system, at least on the RT model. I haven't checked all the specs out on the Limited, but in terms of this drivetrain, there's no way of going into an Eco Pro option, and there's no way of improving fuel economy from disabling the all-wheel drive system. Now, overall functionality, you have a small TFT screen in the center gauge, driver's gauge cluster here. Like, that'll give you your basic information. It gives you your average fuel consumption. It gives you a digital speedometer readout if you want something a little bit more entertaining than the traditional analog. You still have your analog gauges for your speedometer, tachometer, coolant temperature, and your fuel gauge. And you can also cycle through the TFT screen for settings for your tire pressure monitoring, coolant temperatures, oil pressure, and so on. So, you know, you still do get the basic functions of a premium vehicle from using that small little TFT screen. It's just not as big and not as refined as, like I said, the Grand Cherokee. Now, the Uconnect system is still the same. Software based, it acts the same way. I've seen absolutely zero difference. So that's the sound system at half. The sound system's great. Again, Uconnect, it's probably one of the best systems out there right now in the market, and it's very easy to use. It's fast functioning. I've noticed that the voice recognition in the Dodge Journey is actually very fast compared to even my Ram 1500 EcoDiesel, and it seems to pick up a little bit faster, and I think maybe that has something to do with less hardware components that it has to communicate through with the car, and that's your rear backup camera and maybe XM radio or something. I'm not really sure, but it just seems to be a little bit faster. Now, your controls, you do have controls for the 12-volt outlet in the back. You could turn it on or off, so If you don't want anybody using the outlet, you can simply turn it off. The driver and passenger seats are heated. You have a heated steering wheel. You can turn off the screen just like in most traditional Uconnect systems. And you have your climate control system that can be controlled through the Uconnect or through the rotary knobs below. Now, phone connectivity is, again, your Bluetooth voice recognition system. Standard options on most Chrysler products now. And again, you have your settings that you can go through, providing that your vehicle is stationary or in the park position. So just to confirm, the engine doesn't have any auto stop features as well. I just went through the engine off options just to see if it is available. I know Chrysler has been marketing it on their American website that there is a start-stop function that they have for the Pentastar V6. Now, I believe that's on selective models, and it is an optional package, but it doesn't come standard. So if you are in the market for something, I think you probably can get the start-stop feature. You'll have to contact your local dealership to find out more information on it. But other than that, like I said, the drive quality is great. It's, this vehicle doesn't have a sunroof or anything, so again, that's another option that you can add on to the Journey. Now, the Journey's price tag is fairly competitive in the market. I mean, you're comparing to a Hyundai Tucson, which is a lot more compact than a Journey. You don't have too many competitors. Your Ford Flex would be a competitor. But again, it's all different engine platforms, whereas these guys have stuck with a traditional V6 engine. If the Flex uses not the Flex, my apologies, the Ford Edge is what I was trying to say. The Ford Edge uses the EcoBoost engine. It does come with a couple of other engine platforms, I believe, but in terms of the engine size itself, I believe the Pentastar engine is still probably one of the largest in its class in terms of this vehicle size. So you are getting a decent amount of drivetrain and quality out of the Journey for its price range. If you were in the market for a little bit more of a premium vehicle, I would probably suggest you guys go with the Jeep Grand Cherokee, and that really boosts up the price. But in terms of just basic point A to point B, and you want something decent with an all-wheel drive system, hands down, this is a fairly refined car. The sound deadening is fairly good in the vehicle. Like, I don't hear too much road noise on the highway. The ride quality is fantastic. Suspensions absorbs everything on the highway and in driving conditions, just on city roads. You get voice recognition, your standard sun visors with garage door openers, and in the center you get LED interior lighting throughout the entire car, so it kind of gives it that premium feel at night. And what's interesting to note is they actually included in the sun visor here, and I believe this came from the Dodge Caravan, they just implemented it into the Journey, is a convex mirror type finish on the door here, and if you just close it halfway, it locks into place and it acts as a mirror, so you can see the occupants in the very rear passenger seats. So if you have kids, you can keep an eye on them without adding any add-ons into the vehicle itself. So this car does have standard amenities like cruise control, ABS braking, and your brake force distribution. All those standard amenities are a part of the vehicle. You have standard airbags, you have side curtain airbags that are mounted to the side, and they give you emblems on the side of the pillars indicating that it does come equipped with side airbags on the side there. The brakes are fairly good as well in the vehicle. Like, it's not, they're not very firm, but they're forgiving. There's a lot of meat in the brakes, so if you really do need to press the brakes aggressively, you can definitely brake the car hard, as I just demonstrated. That was just probably half. So it does have a very good responsive system. And again, like I said, just the overall compliance, it's decent. It's a really good drivetrain that they've put together for its price range. Now, the exterior, I didn't go over the exterior because really it's just a Journey. There's nothing fancy about the exterior body. There's one passing me right now. To give you an idea, you can get fog lights standard, you can get fog lights as an optional package. It does come with halogen bulbs with reflector headlight assemblies. So it's nothing fancy like a projector lens or anything like that. But overall, the actual visibility of the lighting system is fairly good. It's actually a decent lighting system for what it is. Now going back into the engine, the Pentastar engine likes to rev. I've noticed just by driving locally, between first, second, and third gear, it'll relatively try to shift in low RPMs. But once you're on the highway, the drivetrain changes a lot. The engine will like to rev high. If you're using cruise control, it's going to stay in its lowest RPMs to maintain speed. But for passing power, there's tons and tons of power on the top end of this motor, and it actually goes past 6,000 RPM before it actually shifts into another gear. So the Pentastar actually does have a lot of power. It does pull. I can tell you just from personal experience, the 3.5 liter really never had that kind of power. It was always wanted to shift after 5,000. It just had enough. Like, it just seemed like there was nothing left of the motor. Whereas the V6 Pentastar, it actually feels like there's still tons of top end power. And if you weren't revving as high as you were, you'd probably make a lot more power out of the actual motor itself. And again, when you do shift and you are still very hard on the throttle, you feel in the next gear the engine's just pulling. So it's not sluggish at all. It's actually got a fairly good performance rating, in my opinion. And I believe this model, the RT model, is just under 300 horsepower, or just above 300 horsepower. I have to check out the specs, but ultimately it's a fairly decent car or truck. So to give you an idea, a 0 to 60 acceleration here, we're just about to merge onto the highway. It's fairly good. It's nothing extravagant. I would say it's probably about 7 seconds. Nothing that throws you into your seat like an SRT8 or anything, but it does have some incredible power. So I shifted from second to third, and it was just unlimited power. Just wanted to keep going. It's actually really good in terms of performance. Once you get up to the proper speeds, you can't really complain about it because of the way it performs. Now, what I love about it the most, for the money, you get a decent size engine. You get a fairly decent transmission with an all-wheel drive system. Yeah, it's pretty good in the city, but it really stands out on the highway. And when I'm talking about this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it into its highway gear. I still have one more gear, I already know. We're doing 95 kilometers an hour. Okay, just shifted into the highway gear. I'm going to throw it in cruise control. I'm going to cruise at 100. At 100 kilometers an hour, the engine is sitting at 1500 RPM. It's doing absolutely nothing. It's literally just, a little bit faster than idle, and it's enough to maintain engine speed. Now with this speed, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reset my fuel economy. And it's going to spit out the average in a second here. It obviously goes up to a fairly high number. It started off at 16.9, but right away it's dropping off the cliff. 13.7, 12.9, 12.5, 12, 11. So it's just continuing to fall into the high 20 mile per gallon area, which is fairly decent for the size of the vehicle, including a full-time all-wheel drive system. 10.8. So obviously I'm on fairly flat roads. It's going to vary, but to give you guys an idea, right now it's sitting at 10.7. 10.7 liters per 100 kilometers. Now I'll increase the speed a little bit, just to give you an idea. Now at 110 kilometers an hour, the engine is just above 1500. So really going from 100 kilometers an hour to 110 110 kilometers an hour is only increasing the engine speed by 100 RPM. It's actually, there's a third marker between your 1500 to 2000, or a halfway marker, to kind of break up, 250 RPMs, and it's sitting in between that half point, closer to 1500 RPM. So I would say the engine speed at 110 kilometers an hour is around 1600 RPM to 1700 RPM. So your fuel economy numbers are not going to change that much by having just that extra 10 kilometers an hour. Now this is where it gets really interesting. Normally, average cars doing 120 kilometers an hour with a 6-speed automatic are actually revving around 2,000 RPM on a 6-cylinder engine. Usually on a 4, you're looking around 2,500 RPM. What Chrysler has done here is they've actually geared the last, like I said, that last high gear in the transmission is set for highway. And right now, at 120 kilometers an hour, I'm still sitting below 2,000 RPM. Now I'm closer to that 1,800 to 1,900 RPM. I'm below 2,000 RPM doing 120 kilometers an hour in a 6-speed automatic transmission. That's really good for this size of vehicle. This is where the vehicle's really going to excel in terms of fuel economy at this speed. So, you can throw fuel economy numbers all day, what the federal government gives, and these accredited agencies give about the vehicle, but in terms of its performance, we all know as consumers the values are dramatically different depending on your driving characteristics. Now, I'm not the person that drives religiously at 90 to 100 kilometers an hour. I usually drive about 110, 115, and that's just to keep up with traffic, because really traffic speeds are a lot faster, so you're kind of at a safety risk driving too slow. But in terms of, like I said, performance, the journey is really good. Like I said, if you guys were in the market for a vehicle, I would definitely, hands down, recommend you guys at least go test drive it. The fit and finish is nice. Chrysler's come a long way to improve the interior dynamics of their vehicles. You don't have the old, bulky navigation system anymore. The Uconnect system is so clean, and it's a part of the gauge cluster, so it's part of the driver, and it works as your infotainment system for the entire vehicle. So, the technology and entertainment is all there. They've really stepped it up a notch with the Uconnect system, and they've obviously branded their drivetrain a lot better now with the Pentastar, the new Hemi, and the EcoDiesel engines. So, not to mention the multi-air turbo engines from Fiat, the 1.4s. And the 2.4 Tiger Sharks. So, there's a lot of options out there, and like I said, they knew what they were doing. They put it well together. I got really no complaints, to be honest with you, with the vehicle. I would have to drive this vehicle for at least 1 year to start complaining about specifics of the actual vehicle, because I can't really find too much on it as we speak. Just driving the way I was, I'm averaging 10.3 liters per 100 kilometers. So it just goes to show you can achieve the fuel mileage if you're relatively decent. You're humane when you drive. You're not driving like you're in a Formula 1 race. And overall, it's a decent vehicle.